Hello, everybody. I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Robinson School Building Committee for Tuesday, August 12th. This meeting is being recorded and we have quorum. So we'll take a minute to see if anyone from the public is on for public comment. I do not see anyone on. Okay, so we're going to quickly review meeting minutes that were sent through email from June 17th. Did anyone have any feedback or edits on that? Or motions?
Motion to accept the minutes.
Thank you. Sorry, who was the second? Steve? Okay, all in favor of accepting June 17th minutes? Kristen?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Stephen?
Aye.
Lindsay?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And Jeff?
Aye.
Great. Okay, I mentioned this, so I just give a quick update on the website. A couple months ago, we were trying to investigate how to have a standalone website that could have a URL pointing to it and hit some roadblocks on the IT end of that to have it, I forget the word, like masked, I think is the word, so that you could type in robinsonmsba.org and have it go right there. And then with it being summer and sort of end of year reporting, taking up a lot of Kathy's time, that's sort of been in a holding pattern. The schools are also investigating a change to their website platform. And so it makes sense to me anyway, unless someone has a dissenting opinion, that we kind of hold off on putting any more energy into that for the moment and kind of see what shakes out with the new website platform. Maybe that makes it easier. It also doesn't make sense to just put a lot of energy into something that's going to change right now anyway. Okay. Okay, so the big chunk for today obviously is reviewing the RFS, the draft RFS that was sent in email. Mike, if you want to, oh, sorry, no, I can stall if you need more time on the
Nope,
call.
I'm good.
Okay.
Just had a little truck issue.
Okay. So thank you for the work over the summer, finalizing that, going back and forth with MSBA comments. As many of you know, we did at our last meeting in June, we talked a little bit about rejigging some of those selection criteria and how to weight them. And we had some really great discussions on that. It turns out the MSBA really has a template for a reason, and they wanted to stick to that. So a lot of the changes have been reverting back to their template. And Mike was taking the lead on finalizing that with MSBA. So that draft is in your inbox and has been uploaded to the central registrar. Am I saying that correctly?
The central register, yeah, it's posts tomorrow, and then it's also going in Lowell Sun and Combis, but we're all set with it, ready on this end. I do have I'm expecting an addendum to it. I've got to go through their team of at least 6 lawyers to get them to agree to increase the insurance limits so that they match our minimum. So probably I couldn't get the approval fast enough from them, so I would expect I'll just amend that at some point. But I didn't like their insurance requirements, so we're going to increase those.
Did anyone have any feedback on the document or?
No, I mean, I think we went through it. It seems in line with what I typically see on public jobs, so no comments. And then in terms of limits, no comment there. I'll defer to whatever we want for the limits.
Okay, great. So we're just looking to take a vote to authorize the request for services document.
So moved.
Thank
Second,
you.
Kristen.
Thank you. Okay, any final comments on that? Okay, all in favor, Kristen?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Steve?
Aye.
Lindsay?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And Jeff?
Aye.
Great. Okay, next up is the hard part, depending. We need to create our evaluation selection committee. One member has to be a full-time employee as the procurement administrator to be responsible for the procurement of the OPM. And then a selection of members from this group that commits to doing some hours of homework between, if I read that correctly, I think that'll be between, we received the responses on Friday, September 12th, and we need to be shortlisted by September 18th, the following Thursday. So your personal schedules on Saturday, the 13th, that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, maybe, depending on how long it takes. And looking to see who's interested in doing that. I plan to.
Mind just maybe quickly explaining the obligation in terms of those commitments? Like, or do we have to formulate our own spreadsheets? Or is the evaluation criteria already done? It's just a matter of reviewing the documents and populating the numbers for the short list?
Yeah, the evaluation criteria is within the RFS. The town will create the evaluation spreadsheets for the people who are on the subcommittee to fill those out so everyone is consistent, because there's often a public records request after the fact for this information. Also, this committee is a subcommittee of the Robinson School Building Committee, so we will have to post 48 hours in advance and meet and take minutes as well for that purpose.
Yeah, and not only in case of a public records request, but when I was reviewing what we submit to the MSBA as part of the OPM selection panel meeting in November, they have an entire attachment where they ask for a lengthy narrative of the selection process, including our cumulative average scores. I can't see quickly enough whether they want the individual scores or not, but to answer your question, Steve, yes, there is like a matrix that we would all individually fill out while we review these documents.
Typically, like when we do these pre-quals for subcontractors, we divide and conquer. Are we all filling out the pre-qual for so 3 sets of, like, for example, Vertex, 3 sets of Vertex pre-quals, or are we going to divide the list and conquer amongst these subcommittee? So if we have 12
Yeah,
applicants
respondents.
come in, like there's 4 of us, each person's doing 3, or is each person doing a 12 and coming up with their own grading?
It's generally that you do all 12 each, and
Okay.
not, because some people may slightly grade differently. So you want to make sure that you're all coming together and then having that conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how the one I was a part of for, yeah. So I'm planning to be a part of that group.
I can as well.
I can as I'm the chief procurement officer for the town.
Okay, great. I wasn't sure if that was you, Kristen, or Jeff. Thanks.
Jeff Goodwin, what, if any, would you like involvement on this? I know your plate is extremely full. I also know that you will be working with that OPM and also working with the designer in the future. So I'm not committing you to anything if you just want to sit in on the meetings and observe, but I would love to get at least your thoughts on how you would like to participate, if any.
Yeah, I mean, if I can sit on the meetings and be a part of, once that we've established what the short list is, I'm assuming there'll be an interview at that point. I'd love to be a part of that process. As for the weekend of the 13th of September, I am tentatively going to be away that weekend, so I don't have a ton of capacity to be able to do too much as far as homework, but yeah, would definitely like to be a part of the interview process.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, great. So 4 is less than quorum, but as Kristen said, that does constitute a subcommittee since we're taking on a task of this committee. So I think we need a formal vote to authorize those members of the selection committee.
Valerie,
Yep.
how many people do you want on the committee? Because I'm just saying I'm capable I kind of agree with Jeff, like I want to be paying attention, and I think someone from the school should be, but this is a different process, right? So I'm okay with either. If the number 4 is, if that's a good number, if you want 5, I'd be happy to do it. If you want to stick it at 4, I'm good with that too.
Does anyone have been through the process and think odd or even numbers?
I would go with odd.
Okay, Chris, you
Good
just,
point.
I
Signed
think-
yourself up.
Yeah,
good point. All right, so we're looking for a motion to authorize Valerie, Lindsay, Steve, Kristen, and Chris as part of the selection committee, and a very hearty thank you in advance for everyone's time in that process. So we need a
moved.
motion. Sorry, I missed, oh, Tom, thank you.
So moved, yeah. Tom.
And a second? I'll second that.
Yep.
And, okay, all in favor, Kristen? She said aye, she's muted. Steve,
Aye.
Aye.
Lindsay,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Chris,
aye.
and Jeff.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. I can't remember if I said that. Okay. And let's just take a formal vote to designate Kristen as the full-time employee as the procurement administrator to be responsible for the procurement of an OPM. So a motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
Tom, okay, all in favor, Kristen?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Steve,
Aye.
Lindsay,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
and Jeff.
Aye.
Okay, so based on that schedule, what are people's thoughts on our next meeting? I was thinking the 26th is the day before school. That's kind of a crunch for me. And then, so the second would be an option, but we won't have any new information, I don't think, because even the questions from respondents aren't due until the 4th. Does the 9th make sense to just, can someone remind me if we can publicly talk about like, oh, we've gotten a lot of responses in, or is that just a kind of a sealed box until?
I think it's typically sealed until the opening.
Yeah.
Okay, so we wouldn't really have anything publicly to talk about until after this process.
Yeah.
But the selection committee can probably plan to meet on the 15th or the 16th because we probably need our individual work done by the 16th or 15th, and then a day to put them in cumulative average scores on the 17th, because then they're publicly due on the 18th. Does that sound right to Mike and Kristen and from the RFS states? Okay. So why don't we,
One quick question though.
oh yeah,
Is
Steve.
it common that requests are submitted in for an extension on the submission when it comes to OPM services, or uncommon?
It really depends. I think with it being an MSBA contract and scope, that it's probably less common to ask for the extension, especially since we're up against the MSBA timeline. But I never take a bet on those types of things. You never know.
I think it's also pretty unlikely that we would be able to grant one with the timeline that we have. We've got 3 weeks out. We've got an extra week on top of it. Most of what they put together is going to be pretty pat
Right.
material that they've already got. So
Yeah.
if they can't get it together in 3 weeks, they're probably not your crew anyway.
I agree with that.
Okay, so it sounds like we would be interviews done and contract negotiations by the September 25th. Wonder if we should pencil in a meeting like on the 30th?
Yeah. That's what I'm
Just as
thinking.
a planned check-in? I'm seeing some head nods. Okay, great.
What was the interview date? I apologize.
24th.
Great point. Yeah.
What time?
We don't have time set. It'll be 3 interviews. So we'll just stack them throughout the day.
Yeah. Blocking off the whole day for now.
Okay.
And then we do have, I would draw your attention to the informational meeting and site walkthrough on the 28th.
Yep.
So you'll want to determine who's going to run that process.
What time is that?
10.
10 a.m.
10 a.m.
I can be there. I'd like somebody who knows the building a bit better than myself to join and lead.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
confirmed with Kevin and you,
Yeah,
Chris, right?
both Kevin and I are available
Yeah.
for that, so we can be available for that.
I don't think the whole selection committee needs to be there for the walkthrough. You're just saying to point it out as a date, right, Mike?
Yeah, just to point it
Okay.
out for the date, and then, ultimately, that's your opportunity to explain what you're looking for in terms of the overall feasibility study. So it's, the building's obviously a big piece of it, but the bigger picture and the multiple building scenarios, that's your chance to really pitch that.
And
So,
I assume we have to document questions and then send them out to anyone who's requested the RFS.
yes.
Okay. Yeah. I'm happy to take the lead on the selection committee to join that walkthrough with Chris and Kevin and
Great.
take notes with questions.
Thank you, Lindsay. So what was I just saying? Oh, so we'll plan to check in as a whole group on September 30th. Can someone remind me also, at that point, we would not be publicly naming a firm that we're in negotiations with. We would just be saying we have somebody we're in negotiations with to update the rest of the committee publicly, or that's,
We generally have an apparent winner, but I think
Okay.
we should have that conversation as they come in.
Okay.
About how we want to word it. Just going back to Lindsay's comment about
Oh,
the
sure.
walkthrough.
Yep.
So my general practice is that if someone has a question at the walkthrough, I always make them submit that in writing as well,
Okay.
because I don't want to misinterpret
Perfect.
what they're asking. So you may note it, but do not take that as something we would respond to. They have to submit in writing what that question is, so everyone gets a fair chance to respond and we properly understand their question.
Perfect. Thank you, Kristen.
And they have until the 4th to submit those questions. So great. Okay. Okay, so 9:30, 25 will be our next meeting.
Valerie, one point to consider is if there are any questions that require the committee to provide an answer to, we may want to just make sure we have that in the back of our mind. I would suspect that the vast majority of the questions are going to be about the procurement process. Staff will be able to address those, but there may be things that are outside of that.
Did you want to pencil it in on a meeting for the 9th if needed?
No, I would say like before the 8th. So just in case there is anything that changes so that we can issue questions or responses to the questions by addendum. Our last day to do that would be the 8th.
So in the last day for questions is the 4th. So
Last day for questions is the 4th, just in case there's anything that does require any committee action.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm reading like the responses to the RFS and the
No,
responses to the
this would just
questions.
be
Got it.
just in
Okay.
case I don't anticipate that there would be much that staff wouldn't be able to answer.
Got it.
Most of them are going to be technical in nature as far as the procurement process. So
Okay, so the only problem there is that doesn't include a Tuesday. So the firms could submit questions on the 4th, which is a Thursday, and the town's responses are due the 8th, which is a Monday. So if you're saying the committee might need to weigh in on something, we might have to pencil in the 5th. Would everybody be available for a 12 o'clock meeting on the 5th?
if needed, are individuals on the committee allowed to answer questions if they come up, if they're directed to individuals?
Mike, get,
yes,
go ahead.
Yeah, if
I would wonder. I would need an example on that, but
Yeah. I think the question is either like a staff member can answer that, or they're asking the committee to take a direction or something, and then we would want consensus.
I would struggle to envision what kind of a question the committee would actually need to weigh in on, but just in case, we'd want to think about that as a possibility. I think
Okay.
most things are going to be questions that staff will be able to direct a
Yeah.
response on.
When we say staff, what staff are we referring to?
Town and schools.
Down in school.
The only problem is it's like a chicken and egg. Like, do you post for the 5th if you haven't gotten the questions?
Well, we'll likely know if we're getting some questions. I think some come in right on the 4th on that
Okay.
deadline, but they sometimes trickle in advance. So I think we should check on that Tuesday, right after Labor Day, to see what we have and see if we should post or not. So if we want to put a reminder for that Tuesday morning.
Got it. I can do that. Everybody good with that plan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So maybe the 5th, but definitely mark your calendars for the 30th. And that is all for our public session today. Okay, so in your email, you have a separate, a different Zoom link, which once we take a motion and a vote to adjourn, you'll go to your email and open and you should have no, did I do a panelist link? Nope, I'm seeing Mike's face and I don't think I sent that to staff. Let me do that. So, someone have that email up? I do, never mind. Because I sent it to, sorry, Mike and Joe and Jeff, I sent it to the
You don't have to
RS.
put me on it. I'll skip the executive session.
Okay, so Joe, nope, JG, not Jeff, Joe and Jeff Morissette, nope. Okay, all right, so you will get this email with the separate Zoom link. We'll take a vote and then everybody leaves this Zoom and opens the next Zoom. Any questions on that? Okay, great. So I'm looking for a motion to adjourn to executive session to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair declares an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiation position of the public body, and that town staff Jeff Morissette and Joe Jinowitz be part of that meeting, and the committee will not return to public session.
So moved.
Thank
Second.
you. Thank you. Okay, all in favor, Kristen?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Steve? Lindsay?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And Jeff.
Aye.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody.